if you keep noticing, I keep doing this because I keep hearing pounding on the walls around the studio. It's been dead silent for the past hour until we started talking.
You see, that's what scares me, because if you remember, do you remember that time you guys like got drunk or ripped up one of the Walmart Ouija boards and poured beer on it and burnt it? Yeah. Adam hated my boyfriend at the time, and he hated you because you were like, "Nah, that's so stupid," you know. Yeah. And once he got mad, it was all the time. I would like hear somebody be like, "You will die," or like in the shower, I'd look over in the steam and it says "forever" and stuff like that. Wow.
So what do you do? So like when you're in the shower and you look over and now you have steam writing going on, what the fuck? What's your reaction to that? Because I know what mine would be.
Scared like that, I freeze. I'm like, they can't see me if I don't move, you know?
Right.
And then after that, I started making Misty sit in the bathroom with me because I was so scared to shower. I stopped sleeping downstairs in my room. I started sleeping on the couch.
Well, I think that's what you hear a lot of, like with that stuff, right? I mean, as you kind of start, the stories of kind of demons and those things, they really just try to wear you down.
Yeah.
It's really like the long game, right? They're really going to try to wear you down to where then they, I guess the end goal for that would be possession, right? That they can kind of wear you down and then find an end and then go, okay, you're finally tired enough to where I can be the monkey on your back now, right?
Right.
So if you're not sleeping, if you can barely, get to the point where you can't sleep, you can't bathe without help, you can't, you can't be by yourself, So at some point you just get so worn thin that eventually that would be their end, right?
Yeah, and he would tell me that if I don't let him out, somebody's going to play with the Ouija board. Because, when we thought he was nice, which was ignorant in the first place, we were showing everybody that you can make Ouija boards out of just notebook paper with a quarter and stuff. Yeah. And somebody will let him out. He had told me that if I don't, he'll get out and he can get somebody to rape me or Misty and stuff like that. I remember one time he said, "I don't need you to get to you. I have to kneel." And I called her and I was like, "Listen, this is what Adam just said." She's like, "Oh, well, I'm talking to him on a Ouija board right now." I was like, "Get off that fucking Ouija board right now."
It's insane. So the moral of the story so far is like you shouldn't mess with Ouija boards.
No.
So that's kind of the first moral of the story.
And don't
believe it or not, right? You shouldn't fuck around with the Ouija boards. I have lots of Ouija paraphernalia in here. I don't have a Ouija board. I have Ouija candles. I have Ouija everything else.
I haven't touched a Ouija board in about 10 years. And you're not going to talk to your family members. You're going to want to. You're going to think you are. They're going to pretend to be your family members. But that's where they get
this weird, like, necromancer thing that people want to have where it's like, it's in that kind of back to that same time of like sin eating. That's where a lot of this stuff kind of started to originate, it seems, is way back then when it seems like we can say that people's imagination was a little bit more wild, or maybe the veil between living and dead was a little thinner at the time. Who knows, but people were very interested in a lot of this stuff. It seems like even more so than what they are now. But people would go to those necromancers to try to speak to those that they had lost. And you still see that, right? You still see that in a lot of ways.
Even in Christianity with prayer.
Right.
There's people their dead loved ones.
Well, people going to, and I'm not putting any of this stuff down if there's probably, who knows, right? But people going to a lot of, in Phoenix, psychics are very popular. You go mediums, around the city and there's psychics and mediums everywhere, every corner, there's psychics and mediums. And again, I can't speak negatively about them, but I'm sure, as with any career field, there's a lot of scam artists out there too.
Absolutely.
That are just going to be like, of course, give me $100, you can talk to your mom. Of course you can. Yeah, they've got the string with the bell like tied to their toe, under the table.
I actually watched this very interesting documentary about how psychics are very good at reading faces and stuff like that. And like the Long Island medium, the lady with the big old hair, she'll be like, she'll throw out very common initials, a J. Who in the room had a loved one with the initial J? Okay, well, his favorite color blue? Nope. How about the 150 others who had it? Very basic stuff, and go from there.
It's
and what
probability. A lot of it's probability.
What Joe had said about Ouija boards is a lot of the times they will pretend to be your loved one. They do know this information. They'll pretend to be your dead mother, your dead father, your dead grandparents. And then that's how they get the sympathy and get out, because they do that, because they are very deceptive.
Well, you see that in a lot of stuff too, right? That, a lot of the reading, a lot of the stuff people watch. If you watch any of kind of the ghost stuff on anything like that, you get into any of the paranormal stuff, you kind of see that common thread that, especially it seems like demonic stuff is very interested in kind of portraying themselves as children, as your family, as vulnerable people, as I need help, as all that kind of stuff, to kind of be anything other than the foul whatever that they actually
the scary stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw the tall guy twice, once at Mom's, once here. I saw an old lady that's covered up in moss at Mom's, and Mom saw her too. Mm-hmm. There's this one time at Jax's. It was the day after he told us his name was Zuzu, and I looked out her window, and it had to be 12 foot tall, hunched over, had their arms was like goat legs, and they had kind of like a bearded goat and horns. And I couldn't even look. I couldn't look long enough to get a good description. I just buried my face in the pillow. That's when the whelps happened. And one of the whelps was a heart. Misty, I have to get that picture from her. Yeah,
that'd be interesting. That'd be really cool. We might have to try to share some of that stuff as bonus stuff for the.
Oh yeah, for sure. And those pictures of Preston's chest. When we first got together, he'd always tell me when he slept downstairs sometimes, it feels like he can't breathe. It feels like there's a pillow over his face or somebody's pressing on his chest. And the way the hands are, it's like this. So it looks like somebody was pressing down. And, I mean, they were huge. They were way bigger.
That's what I was looking at.
6'3".
Yeah, for those out there that have not seen these pictures, and if hopefully we can share them at some point, but when you look at these pictures, they're massive. When you look at the hands, they go almost completely across his chest. From the pictures, it's like hand, from bottom of wrist to like middle finger tip. It would be fully nipple to nipple across.
Yeah, it goes huge, from nipple to nipple on his chest.
Massive hands. Yeah, so that's wild. That's wild. Yeah. Well, you've officially creeped me out. I can say that for sure. I'm seriously people won't see the video from this one, but I'm sitting here I keep taking my headphones on and off because I keep hearing random bumps around kind of the studio and overhead. And when we get done, I'll have to go check and see if my neighbors are upstairs. If not, I will be really fucking creeped out. There. But I have been straight up goosebumps the entire time. They won't go away.
Me and Misty
the entire time we're having this conversation.
Me and Misty will talk about it, but we can't talk about it a lot because it still creeps her out, creeps me out and stuff. Because Misty has always had this intuitiveness. Yeah. She can feel when bad stuff has happened. This one time she's I don't want to go to out of nowhere. She had spent 2 hours to get ready. She said, I don't want to go to this party. I have a bad feeling. And that's the night the cops show up and I get caught drinking by my father at 15.
Should have listened to Misty, damn it.
I know. Always listen to Misty. Don't tell her that, though.
Yeah, it is. It's. I think this one would be extra creepy. I would love to hear from people out there too, how creeped out this left them. Because again, I'm sitting here I'm goosebumped up, and it doesn't help that the building that the studio's in here is seriously from the 1940s. It's an old National Guard armory.
Oh God!
Right, so it's an old armory. And then from there, again, it's just interesting. So it's old armory. It went vacant for a long time. So there's a lot of homeless people that lived here for a while too. So I'm assuming that there was a bunch of homeless deaths here, as there are with any building that becomes kind of a homeless shelter. And then, of course, then the hipsters got a hold of it and turned it into an art thing.
Now there's hipster death.
It gets a little creepy, anyways. But so when you throw in the scary stories and all the bumps that are happening right now, it sounds like it's upstairs. So I'm hoping it's upstairs because the hallway lights are on a motion sensor and they haven't come on yet. So if the bumps are coming from outside and there's nothing triggering the lights, that would be very, very scary.
I'll go into Mom and Dad's basement by myself still. And I still get a bad feeling when I go down to my old room. Yeah. And anytime I talk about Adam, I just get this overwhelming, that feeling right before you cry, but there's not tears yet. It always feels like that. I
would say though that so the hallway lights just kicked on, FYI. So let's hope that's but that house in particular. So she's talking about her mom and dad's house. That basement of that house always was super creepy.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was an old man that lives there. Dad calls him Chicken George, and I thought it was a fake story for real. He'd take baby powder and draw little chicken feet, scaring us. But in the 40s, there was a man that sold chickens there, and he actually died in that basement.
Wow.
The part in the very back that is like mud, well, it's like dirt, he had chickens back there, and he had a heart attack or something and died back there. The whole area of Kentridge scares me because, you know, Doll Road right there.
Mm-hmm. There
used to be a house right in that first curve, and they were called the Witherspoon sisters. They were two black twins, and Nanny actually knew them. Very poor, still very racist area at that time, so they didn't get much help. But they actually froze to death one winter, and animals had ate them, and it took like a year for anybody to find the bodies.
Wow. And
that's 4 houses down from Mom and Dad's.
I was gonna say, and then right out the road, there's the murder out there, right, where the guy
dumped the murder out there, Sugar Run Road.
Yeah, dumped chunks of body into the dumpster out there. Yeah, there's a lot of wacky, zany and wacky. I don't know. I guess not great things that
because
in this little section of Virginia.
That guy that got murdered at that party, he owed this guy drug money, so the guy stabbed him. So then the killer made everybody stab him. He was stabbed 50-some times because he thought since they stabbed him also, they couldn't go to the cops about it.
Yeah.
Even though he was already dead, and then decided to chop him up and put him in a dumpster.
Oh, God, how fucked up is that?
You know, they thought Big Sam had something to do with that?
Ugh.
They thought Big Sam was at that party.
How crazy. This little blip of an area. So for folks that aren't aware, you can go look up Richlands, Virginia, and you can kind of see Kentridge Road. It's not large enough where you have to search for it for very long.
No.
You'll be able to find it and kind of see the little bit of an area that we're talking about. But there's so much of that kind of stuff. So many stories as you're starting to tell those things that I'd totally forgotten about until we started on this path of talking about some of the other
just crazy stuff.
Wow.
Right up the road from Kentridge, when you pass those houses and Addison Road, and it's like guardrail and it's straight down like in that valley. Some prom queen, like 2 years before Dad graduated, her and her boyfriend were fighting. So he wrecked the car over that hill and killed both of them.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. They went through like we're down into there's like this area is super mountainous, and I guess it's not like rocky mountainous. It's like rolling hills, Virginia mountainous, like lots of hollers, if you will.
Hollers.
different things like that. So a lot of those roads, really until now, like I go back and visit, and there's still a lot of spots where you're like, holy fuck, they should put a guardrail there.
Yeah.
Guardrails didn't exist way back when. So if you wanted to just, off yourself and everyone hanging in your car, you could just Dukes of Hazzard it off of a mountain pretty easily. And I remember that story now. Now that you say that, I remember that was one that was always kind of, it's weird. There's so much of those stories are not documented as much as they're just passed down vocally, orally.
Right.
I remember that because that was like a story I heard when I was first driving. It's like, don't do that.
I remember telling me that, and the Witherspoons. Do you remember the guy in Grundy that was like held up at the Appalachian Inn and ended up killing a bunch of cops?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Something like that. And then there was something about a murder a few years ago on Grundy. Some dude was chopped up really bad. And all this stuff around here, it don't leave this area. You don't see it on CNN. No. You see it on WCYB or WVVA for 2 seconds.
The local news. Yeah, body found in 17 pieces in local woods. Yeah,
a little kid just a few years ago went missing, and the parents were flipping out. And it was in Tazewell, and it was put in a septic tank.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. That was awful. And then, so even like that, like there's still people, like there's missing persons cases right now. People that just go in the woods and don't.
Eric Smith, the hunter, he's never been found.
Never been found. Yeah,
it's been like 8 years now.
You went hunting and just never came out.
Mm-mm.
So your mind automatically starts to go, okay, the woods are big, but they're not that big.
Right.
People continue to this day. They still organize search days for that guy to go find him. So either something, either way, whether of this world or maybe not, something not great probably happened to that guy for them to not find him,
I had a friend who her great grandma was still alive. Her great grandma was like 103. And she would always tell